I think we're rolling here. Alright, sorry about that. Had a little bit of technical difficulties for whatever reason. Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. Last night for economic news, we had the New Zealand dollar RBNZ rate statement, and then the Great Britain pound had their GDP number, which was a beat. Preliminary GDP quarter over quarter beat the expected, and the GDP month over month was also beating the expected. An hour before the bell, CPI numbers came in, also a beat. And then our first big news event, now it doesn't necessarily impact the entire market, but oil is going to have its crude oil inventories at 10:30 or an hour after the bell. This evening we're going to have the employment rate for the Australian dollar, and then we also at 11 o'clock have FOMC member Kaplan speaking. The 10-year bond auctions at 101, and the federal budget is at 2 p.m. Tomorrow morning we're going to have the unemployment claims, and that's really it for upcoming news. Um, I wanted to title this video President Kamala's effect on the markets. It's kind of a half of a joke, but I want to just first point out this setup. I put in the laser setup of the Discord, this USD JPY. Blow this up here. We are running into a double confirmation level. It is a negative 23% profit target lined up with a daily halfway back short. And so far we've traded it perfectly. This is like straight from the masterclass trade you want to look for. Honestly, these trade setups are super rare. Um, what we had was a 50% retracement long that traded initially on August 5th, retested on August 6th, and that negative 23% upside target, excuse me, lined up with a traditional short. We had this high to low trade before. In React, that completed targets that same high to low has just traded. So um, we have come off, and you can see when you have these levels, and this is kind of a lesson in a trade plan, but when you have these levels that complete these higher time frame targets and run into those higher time frame resistance levels or support levels, they often have a very good reaction because you have traders who are exiting their positions that are long and new traders potentially entering positions that are short. And you can see how aggressively we have come off that. It's just like within 30 minutes we have the biggest move all day in the USD JPY, and that is because we had traded that level. So if you're in the trade room, make sure you're always checking that laser setup section. If you have alerts on that part, just because I throw some of the bigger setups that I'm really liking in there. But anyway, let's go to the indexes here and talk about what had happened yesterday. I do want to start off with the S&P because it was kind of like to the T what I was anticipating potentially happening. Now, we had run into right at the open this 33.72 negative 23% profit target from the higher time frame, and we had extensions going into the day. If we broke that extension, there was a setup to be traded. Now, the extension was from 33.47 quarter to high. In the morning, we actually traded that support level, and I can go down to a smaller time frame here. We traded that support level right at 9:35. We retested and sold off from that profit target 33.72, which was the first time it had traded during the regular trading hours. You can see there was instant rejection there, and then we broke this extension. Now, in the trading room, I have an educational section tab that talks about this exact setup, and I mentioned it in the room when it happened. Basically, when we break extensions at highs or at lows, there usually isn't, for whatever reason, this next 50%. I mean, even though we have a reaction, there's sellers there. We, traded to the 38. The 78% retracement, which kind of looks like a double top on a chart, for whatever reason, often trades. And that is exactly what we had. I dropped this level in the room yesterday. It was at 33, 73, 75. A little bit of a tongue twister. And that thing just went straight to target as Biden had announced his pick for VP. Now, I know, obviously, the market was coincidentally, and I love it when this happened, running into a daily profit target. 33.72 is a technical target we've been looking at for like 2 months. We somehow hit that target the day before he announces his VP pick, which then takes the markets lower. Pretty fascinating. But what we did break, and what's important moving into really, now the election is on. We're going to have headlines left and right. Policies are going to start to emerge that may or may not impact the market. But we had, once we blew through this negative 23% profit target, we had the July 23rd high to high as an extension. We broke that 61.8. That is a failure of a daily support. So what I have as my next potential daily level below is this 32.87. 32.87. We did not hold the extension. 32.87 would be the next traditional below. And that would be the swing low from July 30th to high. Now, if you go to the daily chart, the extension that completed yesterday and really is our highs, we're selling off from those. If we were to trade that extension again, which would be completely normal price action, that would be a sell-off all the way back to right about 3,000, just above 3,000. We'll see if that happens. Just want to be aware of how big this target is. This is the June 15th pullback. We basically went from a high to, and we sold off 200 points in like 4 days. So when this market breaks, it breaks pretty quickly. That move below is a potential to occur, before the election with all of the headlines I'm sure we're going to have coming out, and lead poll changes, etc. But anyway, now that we have broken this long setup, I would still, we just kind of pierced at 61, so I do think the bottom of the range here is, and I'm sure there'll be buyers here again, is this 33.31.75. The full 50% retracement short has already pierced. We're probably going to open up below that 61. If we get up to this 78% retracement again, we can absolutely look at that as a potential resistance level. Okay, but what we're going to see here, I think, today and maybe even into tomorrow is a battle of these two setups because they're both broken now. We broke the short, which we almost always break the short when we're in high situations. We almost always trade above the 61.8 because the momentum just continues to be higher. And we've broken the long. So these levels are going to go back and forth, and we're going to have retests of the longs and the shorts. And whichever one wins, we'll just judge by obviously the breakout of the price action. Now, the only other possibility I would have on the table is maybe we just begin ripping here off the open. But I don't have any setup for that because we broke this long from lows. We broke that daily long. We broke the next measured move. So I think it's going to be a range in between that area, and that's what I'm going to look for. Just the outer edges of the range for accurate, price levels: 33.31.75, 33.66 quarter, which is the 78% retracement. Moving on to the Dow. Now the Dow has a different sequence. The Dow and the Russell have been leading here. The Dow had this traditional 50% retracement on July 30th. We blew through those targets on Monday. We began extensions yesterday and we held them. Okay? We held this extension, excuse me, from the 15th of July to high. Now we just tagged that 50. We just tagged that 50. And we're going to continue to watch both this 38% retracement, which is back at the beginning of the move, that's 27,685, as well as the 50% retracement retest. Now, there was different variations of extensions that broke yesterday. And because of those variations of extensions that broke, just like the ES yesterday, I do want to watch this 78% retracement, which is, would potentially put a double top situation here in the Dow for a reversal. So I'm just going to leave this resistance level up and this support up right now. Pretty big range. for the Nasdaq. Now the Nasdaq is the leader here of shorts, and that is also very important. What was the leader to the upside? What's really been carrying the market? It's tech. It's Microsoft, it's Google, it's Amazon, it's Facebook, and it's Apple. Okay? Where are we stopping? We are stopping at the negative 23% profit target. This has been an incredibly amazing run. Probably one of the craziest runs, one of the fastest runs you might ever see in your life in the NASDAQ. Just to kind of put it in context, we were at 68.12. That was a halfway back from the 2016 low. So basically 2016 to the 2020 high, we wiped out half of those gains in a few weeks, and then we have been going straight up ever since, straight up to our profit targets. Now that we've hit those profit targets, we're finding it difficult to really get above those targets. So yesterday, our overnight high was that profit target exactly, okay? And what there was a valid short setup. And look how technical this short setup was. We literally just tagged the 61, but the low of the day yesterday was at negative 23. Just like tagged. So if there's any market that is going to lead on the weakness, it's going to be the NASDAQ. And the two important levels to pay attention to are just two different variations of traditional short entries. One of them is the full 50% retracement short from highs, which whenever it trades, it will eventually trade. At this point in time, should have an incredible reaction. We have an hourly leg start. That's where the move began lower there. And then we have the full 50% retracement from yesterday's overnight high to low. Okay, and that is at 11,001. So those are the two resistance levels for the NQ. And then let me go to the Russell before I move on to the other markets. Back out to the daily chart. The Russell's similar to the Dow. It's leading here. It's a stronger market. We had a traditional that blew through targets. The Russell held a 38% retracement of a daily extension from July 23rd. And we are right on highs. Now, I don't think the Russell, let's see, I just want to mark what that 78% retracement is. The Russell is going to be opening right near the top of its range. And if we start trading back below these morning lows, then you can look short. But at this point in time, when and if the Russell trades the 50% retracement of its current extension, that is a level I want to pay very close attention to. It's a 1556.6. 1556.6. The Russell is the strongest market. We're already up 1%. We're right back to where we started. And even out of lows, you could argue that there is a technical long series. We had a 50% retracement long from yesterday's low at close to high. That high, completed targets, that swing low to high, that's a valid setup right now. That is a valid setup, and that is down at 1586.3. So that's the market to play to the long side. I would say that and the Dow, yes, is a little more neutral, and the NQ is bearish for the indexes. All right, moving on to oil. We have our oil inventory report today. I want to go to a daily chart. Now, oil has been in a very steady grind higher, and it's just kind of moving lower, moving higher, moving lower, moving higher. Wow, why is that happening? Try it this way. We are right at this swing high from July 21st. Now, we have never closed above, on the daily chart, this swing mark. We have never closed above it. If we can close above it on this oil inventory report here, I do think oil can, begin like maybe a 3-day breakout just above the 43.75 resistance level. But so far this week, we have held a 50% retracement from the low of July 30th high. And this is held on the 7th, and then we were, front run, and we just continue to get buyers, everything below 41.60, just looking at this higher time frame chart. Now, coming out of this morning's lows, we've had a technical series long. We had our first halfway back complete targets. You had a next measured move complete targets. And then this next measured move was aggressively, it was front run. We never really came back into that halfway back, and that's why I'm using that again. This is going to be one of my, oil's been a little bit of a focus. It's oil gives free trades even when it doesn't work. Even when the oil doesn't work, if you're right on your technicals, it gives a free trade. So this 42.25 is the setup I'm watching here this morning in oil to lead us into the oil inventory. We have upside targets above, and if we can get above those levels, we could potentially see a breakout on the daily chart in oil. USD JPY already went over. The Aussie dollar has a reversal here. We just completed this negative 23% profit target. I'm going to look for this next traditional 71.42. Actually, you know what? I'm even going to go full halfway back just to be a little more conservative. The full 50% retracement long for the day in the Aussie dollar, 71.36. 71.36. The euro continues to hold this daily 38% retracement. It is the extension from July 10th. We have traded it 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. This is 4. We're dipping in at a little lows, but there's demand at that level. There is demand at that level. Now, we have this, you can call it like a bottoming formation, a bottoming wedge that has been building now. What I'm interested to see, and we do have a hourly leg start, is if we hold, this is going to be the key, because the Euro's tried to do this a couple times. Comes out of lows, we have a halfway back long. Okay, we did it yesterday. We traded off that level, and then we just came back below. We made a new low. We're going to have that same setup here. The low of the overnight session to high at 17.55, and one of these is going to work. But in the meantime, they are giving free trades. So the 17.55 level would, if we could trade down into this and then rotate out of this expansion wedge, whatever you want to call it, flag, and we could begin making our move back up in the next leg in the euro, which is the next leg down. Obviously, the next leg higher in the euro means the next leg lower in the dollar. So that's what I'm looking at. The pound is also in a daily extension. We have just come off that 38.2 again. Now, the pound had a GDP number here this morning. So we're still a little sloppy. We're only holding higher time frame levels here. What I would like to see is a break of some shorts and then a test of a long, or if we get down to the 129. Once we get below 129.80s, I have a daily support level there that has not yet tested. So I don't really have anything to do right now in the pound, but if we get below this 129.80, then I will start looking for a reversal to the long side. And the USD CAD, we have downside targets. We came off a halfway back short yesterday in the after hours. We're crashing through lows. That next traditional is going to be a 133.02. High of the day to the low of the day is a valid short setup for the USD CAD. And then gold and silver, which, my goodness, they had absolutely huge moves. Yesterday, my video was titled Gold Breakdown. You never expect it to go as far as you think it can. I mean, who called a 100-point sell-off in gold? Not me. But I had this level that I have up on my screen was in yesterday's morning trade plan. We had this very deep monthly pullback or weekly pullback during the liquidation. When the market sells off, gold will get liquidated, everything gets liquidated, people raise cash. We had this complete, it's negative 61. We spent a week above it. It looks like people got a little ahead of themselves. And then we pulled back into this extension, 1704 to highs. This is a monthly extension. And we retested the previous high, the all-time high breakout. If you wanted a pullback to get into gold and silver and believe in the long-term view of they're just going to keep printing money, which I think is pretty obvious, but that's just me. This is your pullback. We traded down into the 1897 support level. Now, when we are selling off really aggressively, we typically go through those supports, and there's an accumulation, and that actually leads to bigger moves. Now, yesterday morning we had these extensions. We had an extension to its profit target, and then we began a new extension. We went sideways on the lows. We blew through that. We began a new extension. Okay, and that is the final extension here that completed targets, and then we had a same anchor new low. That same anchor new low has broke. When that broke, that ended the downtrend. And that's what you'll see in these super aggressive moves. It's like that extension break, we dipped very aggressively into support. We dipped 20 points, but the range yesterday was 100 and something. We went all the way from what? We opened the day around like 2040 and we closed the day at like 19. Well, we had a low of the day, it was like 1912, so like 130 points. This is a huge range, and it can be dangerous to trade. I mean, trade the micro contract. I think it's MGC. But anyway, out of those lows, there was a series that began. The first move was this halfway back long, and we are now inside of an extension long in GC. Now, this can go just as quickly as it moved down, it can move back up. What's going to be important to watch is really, you can see where this volume came in above 1980. And that's going to be resistance. But once we start getting back above, we're going to really begin moving. At this point in time, the only setup we would have is after a target completion of this extension, a same anchor new high, or look for a 50% retracement long that confirms on a micro. You have to wait for confirmation on micro on these bigger pullbacks because the ranges are huge. The ranges are huge right now. On a 5-minute chart, it's a $550 stop. Okay, so if we get a completion of this extension, it's the same anchor new high. Otherwise, it's a full halfway back. Moving on to silver, which came into a monster extension that I honestly didn't think was going to trade again. But of course, anything is possible when it comes to the market. We had this extension trade, and look how quickly we came off this extension last time. It was the high before breakout, 1895 to high. Now, last time this traded, it was in the overnight session, and it was at 2261. 2261's traded, completed its profit target, and then we had a same anchor to the new high. That traded last night. The upside profit target now is 3250 for silver, and that was just a deeper pullback. We've been reacted off of the full 50% retracement long in a front run. Upside targets are 27. Then we'll draw the next measured move. But that is going to wrap up this morning's trade plan video. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. This video is done every morning live for the Startup Trading subscribers and then posted for other people to view after the market closes. If you're interested in getting this video and all of the benefits of the Startup Trading chat room, including daily levels, laser setups, active chat, screen share, join with the link below. Everybody have a wonderful day. I'll catch you guys in the trade room. Trade safe. Benefits of the Startup Trading chat room, including daily levels, laser setups, active chat, screen share. Join with the link below.